Good day, everyone. First, let me introduce myself. I am Ronali B. Fomar, BS2 Cream, Section D. My topic is all about containment theory. Before we go on, let us define first what is containment theory is. So, containment theory is all humans are to subject to criminal behavior. Individuals are pushed and pulled into crime. Pushes and pulls are buffered by inner and outer containment. So, the central concept of containment theory are the outer and inner containments are required for a person to develop restrained, law-abiding behavior. While social theories posit that crimes and delinquency occur among members in society because an individual's behavior is not well regulated, and recent control theories have emphasized the importance of high self-control and strong bond to society in deterring criminal behavior. Next is prevention of the crime. So it contends that there are two components to prevent criminal behavior in society. So first we have the inner containment. Self-concept, goal orientation, frustration tolerance, and norm commitment and retention within the individual self. So it is the controlling of the self by a favorable self-concept, frustration tolerance, and the ability to follow norms. The next is outer containment. So it is a social environment in which the individual resides and reflects socialization within the community and outside oneself. So it is about the community socialization and the application of social norms and rules. The next is causes of the crime. So these are forces that cause deviant behavior. So Reckless said that we are all put through pushes and pulls that push or pull an individual into deviant behavior. So first, we have pushes. It consists of adverse living condition. So for example, poverty, unemployment, economic insecurity, group conflicts, minority group status of opportunities, inequalities, over-aggressiveness, anger, boredom, and racism. So we can see such pushes when children are threatened by other children to join a gang. Next, we have pulls. Factors that brings individuals to deviant behavior. It consists of prestige individuals, bad companions, delinquency of criminal subculture, deviant groups, mass media, and propaganda. So for example of pull is when a child sees that in order to get money to buy things, he or she can join a gang and reach their objectives. They are pulled into the gang by its attraction as a way of growing status and making money. So some pulls can be delinquent peers, family members, subcultures, and groups. So we have two containment. First, we have outer containment. So the outer containment consists of effective family life in which problems are averted or handled of life in community still retains an interest in the activities of its members of membership in organization that are interested in the activities, as well as the influence of good companions. So it is an external factors that provided by groups in society, the states, tribes, and villages, family, and other nuclear groups of that manner. So there has to be certain responsibilities and guidelines for the individual, and these are provided by the external containment. While the inner containment was a greater emphasis of reckless work. As he states, internal containment involves the ability to withstand pressures and pulls, to handle conflicts, to avert oneself from exciting risk, and to stay out of trouble. So it is based on our self-esteem and moral development. It is the ability of a person to follow expected norms to direct himself. The four main elements of inner containment. So we have self-concept, goal orientation, frustration tolerance, and norm retention. So in self-concept, it is argued to be an insulator delinquency among adolescents. Next is in goal orientation. It is defined having a direction and orientation towards legitimate goals. And for frustration tolerance, it is a result of low self-control. Low frustration tolerance originate from upsets, failures, and disappointments in life. And it is characterized by the inability to exert self-control, to tolerate frustration, to recognize limits, and to relate to others. Self-control is vital to cope with failures, for without it, individuals are prone to engage in delinquency, such as mean to cope with such stressors. And lastly, norm retention. It refers to acceptance of social norms, laws, and the willingness to comply with such laws. Walter Reckless, an American criminologist born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on January 19, 1899. He wrote a book called Juvenile Delinquency in which he explained how young offenders become criminals, who became known because of his containment theory. Reckless containment theory. He realized that urban life contained many temptations to commit crime. He suggested that to commit crime, the individual must break through a combination of out and inner containment. Reckless considered the four key factors. So first, we have self-concept, where the individual has an image of himself as either the type of person to adhere to the law or to break it. Second, goal orientation. In reference to a person having a sense of direction in life, a purpose, and an aspiration towards a goal which is realistic and achievable in a legitimate way. Third, frustration tolerance. It is considered that there must be biophysical desires that urge towards deviant behavior that compounded by society frustrating our success due to the different opportunities available to us. And lastly, norm retention. It is adherence and acceptance of laws, codes, norms, customs, and so on. So that could be all. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. I am Klein Christian Imbandal. I assigned to report about social bound theory. What is social bound theory? It's a control theory built upon the assumptions that people are inherently self-interested. Therefore, it seeks to explain why some people refrain from crime rather than engage in crime. So, ang meaning nito ay ang social bound theory ay isang control theory na binuo sa paglagay na ang mga tao ay likas na may interes sa sarili. Sa makatuwid, ito ay naglalayong ipaliwanag kung bakit ang ilang mga tao ay umiiwas sa krimen sa halip na gumawa ng krimen. So next, who developed social bound theory? American criminologist Travis Hirschis in the late 1960s. Travis Hirschis' control or social bonding theory argued that those persons who have strong and abiding attachment to conventional society in the form of involvement, investment, and belief. So, social bound theory is sometimes referred to as social control theory. It is the belief that socialization and the forming of personal relationship are among the most significant aspects of human development. So, what are the four elements of social bonding theory? So, first, attachment. This includes any shared belief. Second, commitment. This is the amount of time spent on the activity. Third, involvement. This is the energy put into the activity. Last is belief. This is the value and moral system. So the first and most important element of social bond theory is attachment, which refers not only to interpersonal relationship but also to social and cultural standards. For example, the earliest and most influential attachment that a person can form is with their parent or parents, who presumably help us to form an understanding of the world around us.
I am John Mark Ely and I will tackle about social control theory or social bond theory. Social bond theory. The social bond theory was created by Travis Hirschi in 1969. Social bond theory later developed into the social control theory, and it has historically been an interesting way of approaching social problems and how we in turn explain them. Before one can apply the social bond theory, they must first have a firm understanding and its definition. We can be accurately described by Hirschi in 1969 as element of social bonding include attachment to families, commitment to social norms and institution, social or employment, involvement in activities, and the belief that these are important. This theory is rooted or derived from the general theories of crime. The basic difference between the general theory of crime and Hirschi's in 1969 social bond theory is the focus of peers and peers group of individuals. The four basic elements of social bond theory are attachment, commitment, involvement in conventional versus deviant or criminal activities, and lastly, the common value system with an individual's society or subgroup. Attachment is described as the level of values and or norms that an individual holds in society. It is especially important when it comes to the person's parental figures. According to Hirschi in 1969, other attachment such as school play a tremendous role in conventional society. School has tended to be a middle to upper class involvement since it has first created. The middle class children tends to make fun or demoralize the lower class children. This treatment also does not just from the child and also come directly from institution through the teacher. In combination with each other, the person starts to resent school at the earliest point. This resentment also hinders the continuation of further education. This comes full circle of the lower class standard of living for generation to come, Hirschi in 1969. Commitment. Next is commitment. This can describe as the level of commitment that an individual has to abide by legal behavior. Burton, Collins, Evans, Donaway, Ketineni, and Gary in 1995. The norms and values taught to us and adolescents should be to obey how society works in normal terms. From very early in our lives, we hopefully learn the difference between right and wrong. This understanding has an enormous effect on how we can turn out set our place in normal society. For example, if a child is raised in a home where drugs are both sold and used regularly, then the child has a greater chance to have involvement with drugs in the future. Also, the bond between mother, father, and a child in a normal nuclear family, it is very strong. This is turn has made a blueprint of an entire adult life of a child. Involvement in conventional versus deviant or criminal activities. Third, this is a person choice to get involved in conventional versus deviant behavior. This is choice is formed not far after basic rules of life are taught. If no right and wrong bases are formed to provide, the adolescent will make the decision that tends to make the most sense. This is also ties in families involved in the person's life. Common value system with an individual, society, or subgroup. Lastly, in these many ways, senses directly correlates many factors or aspects. For the four main parts of Hershey's theory, together, they form the backbone of the everlasting band theory. Social band theory has long been widely accepted among many sociologists for a variety of reasons. The fact that bonds exist in all aspects of society means that relation of this bond can be readily discussed. Hershey bases this theory on the means that social bonds do exist, and when a bond is weakened or broken, then unusual behavior for that individual may occur. This brings me to a profound quote by Durkheim. The more weakened the group to which the individual belongs, the less he depends on them. The more he consequently depends only on himself and recognizes no other rules of conduct that what are formed on his private interests. However, like many things, there are weaknesses in it. One element of weakness of Hershey's band theory is that he makes little or no distinction of importance of each of the elements of his social band. Some recent research suggests that there may be differences between each of the elements that he names. A number of adolescents that are involved in criminal activity report high levels of involvement, which according to Hershey are supposed to reduce delinquency. When young adults are involved with criminal behaviors outside of the home, it is possible the parental control weakens or that young adults just have more opportunity to commit crime. Following, these are deviant peers and parents. Hershey concludes that any types of social attachment is beneficial. Events to deviant peers and parents. In contradiction to himself, this in turn supports a larger antisocial behavior. Michael Hindeland in 1973 found that attachment to delinquent peers escalated rather than restricted criminality. Many studies have even done to prove that young adults with drug abusive parents have greater chance of being abusers themselves. Burton, Cullen, Evans, Donaway, Ketinene, Payne in 1995. If an individual has peers, family members, or associates that are deviant, this may motivate youth to commit crimes and also facilitate an antisocial behavior. Collins, Caruza, Wright, and
So my report is the continuation of social bond theory, which reported by John Marciali. So the simple fact that bonds change over time has been overlooked by Hershey, 1969, on many equations. Weak bonds shared with parents leads to delinquency, while strong bonds to peers leads to delinquency. Lagrange and Ruskin 1985. Some other bands that come to mind might be the family structure that America shares in contemporary society. We now see more and more single family households and same-sex households, an indirect result of how certain household affects an individual have just begun to be studied. There are conflicting views to as whether their certain households are beneficial, deleterious. So, matod pa ni Lagrange and Ruskin daw, weak bonds shared with parents lead to delinquency, while strong bonds to peers leads to delinquency as well. Meaning, if weak daw ang bonds na ginhatag sa parents, muli daw naghihapon sa delinquency or wrongdoings or minor crime. While kung strong sad ang gihatag nga bond to peer or equal influence, muli gihapon siya to wrongdoings. This is the weakness because the ideas are skewed in both directions and consensus has not been reached. It is fact that many different races ethnic exist in America today and there are many different ways to live life. When Hershey 1969 conducted his research and recorded his finding, he based it upon the thought that a family which white different cultures, different beliefs and might be predictable or normal to one might not in another. Since bonds are stronger in certain kinds of lifestyle, that effects will different in all cases. The results of family ties will result in different blueprints of different people. A strong family could keep them going in the right direction, but too strong could also cause adverse effect like many studies. Their results have to be taken into cases by cause. Another one of the major weaknesses of social bond theory is the definition that are used to describe the main concept of the theory. The empirical effect of the skewed definition or biased definition is represented, and another definition is sin can make people's lives a normative occurrence. As described above, this is the who suffered from substance abuse. According to Bart, it is a substance abuse problems with either drugs or alcohol, and the topic journal selections is a study done by Stephanie Hartwell of the University of Massachusetts. So, kung ang strong family daw i-keep going to the right direction but strong family cause adverse effect basis. So, kung strict ang parents, kay muli daw sa right direction which controlled by parents, pero kung musubra daw, o ka-strict ang parents mo lead to cause adverse basis or magbahis gani ang usa ka tawo kung manobra na. And the studies will focus on the characteristic of the homeless population in America. Hartwell has estimated that between 20% of homeless people in America has substance abuse problems. Throughout Hartwell article, she applies Hershey's theory in qualitative study of 31 homeless substance users from New York, New Haven. The participants in interviews twice, once 1992 and the second time in 1993. The results show that normative attachments to the families, friends, and institutions were little or no commitment to conventional goals or norms. In conclusion of the study found that the uses Al Institute of Health NIH 1988 and the Alcohol and Abuse and Alcoholism approximately 20 million Americans abuse drugs or alcohol. Fisher 1989, Fisher and Bricky Institute of Medicine 1898, Spinner and Leaf Sasser at Homeless City have utilized elements of Hershey's 1969 social bond theory long past their adolescent years. Consistent evidence shows that attachments to the family's primary shape the commitment to activities, social life, and social location. Basically, homeless men could have chosen many paths in their younger years, but because of the volatile family structures, they choose the wrong path. So, kanina study is gikandak sa tibuok homeless of America or kaning walay Pinoy-anan sa Amerika. So, according to Bart, 20 of every 10,000 ka mga homeless na naay abuse problem sa drugs or alcohol. And nabuhat na nila is because of their family problem and other else. So, the home was not considered a shelter for the younger men, and for this reason, They spent more time in the streets after growing for some time. The men began to participate less in leisurely activities but drug use. When the men are asked for friends, they tend who have not healthy social bond with peers. In most of these men's lives, they were at one point to another failing as a father, brother, etc. relationship figure. And because of these stresses causes, they revert back to the substance abuse. Based on the findings and the direction relation to Hershey, social bond theory can make a decision that either supportive correlation between a two. A few ideas can be proposed to either control or improve the current homeless agenda in America. So ang panimalay daw kay dili makonsider nga puy-anan sa mga batan-on. So nagtikadugay mo involve sila og activities like drugs tungod sa ilang mga friends, mga influence sa ilang mga friends. That is the social bond theory is one can make decision that there is supportive correlation between the two. So the first would be the create more employment opportunities and employment option for the underprivileged. The society is whole should make more of effort to strengthen the family ties. We share and therefore strengthening society as a whole. Next, the schools need to encourage and engage children in all aspects. The government can do its part, focus on the environment of schools and the poverty-ridden areas. The earlier the children is approached in some phases of life, is a stronger impact we can have on them. The resources given to the poorer schools can be considered an investment of sorts. You invest into children while they are young, than as adults you get great return. Adults that were predestined to continue as a poor lifestyle have much greater chance of breaking the force pulling them down and keeping them down. The last improvement that can be implemented would be the offer lower cost and still decent housing. Hartwell proposes that we examine for educational forums and they stay in the shelters could be benefits from health, jobs trainings and money management problems to good as Hartwell. It's like some weak points. First would be the location of the study. The sample size is small and not enough long-term results were taken into account. A remedy to this might be the small studies like this all around. The U.S. then can get greater consensus of the overall populace. So school daw dapat sa school encourage ang mga students in all aspect and ang government pod mo focus sa pag-improve sa mga schools, mohatag sila og kanang pangpanginabuhi. And sa pinagi ana ang mga bata or mga tao kay mo impact ra sa ilang tanan ug malikay sila sa mga daotan or mga wrongdoings. So that would be all. Thank you and God bless.
Hi, I'm Mark Anthony Andrin, reporter of Group 6. My topic is life course theory. The life course theory perspective is a broad approach that can be used in a variety of subject matter as a psychology, biology, history, and criminology. In the criminology field, course theory is as a backbone or a starting branch for an assortment of other theories that are less broad and more specific. Carl Mannheim. He wrote the groundbreaking Mannheim's does not explicitly generate a full-fledged theory. He almost demonstrates the finding of how the human experience, especially underground in childhood, shape their ultimate outcome. He later goes on to note these outcomes will be passed on down from generation, including the past generation from the further generation. W. I. Thomas and F. Snanick. These are the two sociologists credited to having ignited the broad theory. They analyzed the lives of Polish peasants and document their discoveries in the Polish peasant in Europe and America. Jan Laub and Robert Sampson. These are the two modern criminologists that have worked to further investigate and apply the life course theory to a criminological standpoint. Contemporary criminological approach to life course theory places emphasis on the factors occurring in each phase of life, classified as childhood, adolescence, and adulthood, and how these factors play a role in the participation of criminal behavior. A common factor throughout childhood is the one-parent household case, in which studies have shown because a higher risk for criminal activity later in one's life. The adaptation to social bonds and institutions are factors in the adolescence phase. Adolescents are able to excel in institutions such as school, church, and community center. They're least likely resort to criminal activities to occupy their time. Factors for adults include marriage, children, employment. Adults are they involved with their families and their career are less likely to pursue crime compared to those who are not. Durkheim's anonymity theory. Crime is necessary. It serves a function in society, although it is not preferable. With the progression and evolution of modernity and emphasis on monetary success, crime is inevitable because a perfectly stable, uniform, and able society is impossible. Emile Durkheim, father of sociology and functionalist, he provides a variety of explanation of society is like crime, deviance, accounts for the punishment and repercussion that follow.
Durkheim's anonymity theory. Crime is necessary served to function society, although it's not parable. With the progression and evolution of modernity and emphasis on monetary success, crime is inevitable because of perfectly stable, uniform, and able society is impossible. As the father of sociology and functionalist, Emile Durkheim provides a variety of explanation of society else like crime and deviance, and accounts for the punishment and repercussion that follow. The basis of history rests in the idea that the conscience collective of society varies alongside the division of labor. According to Durkheim, one of the pivotal points in history in terms of crime and deviance was the Industrial Revolution. This imbalance Durkheim demands anomy. According to Durkheim, anomy reflects sense of normalness, the lack of any societal norms that spurs the tendency to act in a deviant way. In turn, Durkheim puts forth not just theory for the social origins of crime, but also be theorized about the social origin of law and punishment. Before addressing Durkheim's explanation for crime and deviance, it is necessary to discuss his theory regarding the origins of law and punishment. In its entirety, he describes the law as a concrete and objective indicator for morality. The law is restitution rather than simply repressive. Smith 2008. From this comes the conclusion that law is a production of the collective society, of belief of society, an embodiment of everything society holds to be right, true, and just. This concept of the collective conscience has everything to do with where society laws and else come from. In reality, Durkheim arrested the crime holds some religious quality. Because religion was reflection of the force of shared collective conscience, our legal codes were also religious codes, thus providing Durkheim the ability to argue offense against the gods were offense against society. Durkheim 1964. Crime became deeply meaningful thing, very passionate and powerful, vengeance, specifically because of this punishment was less about the offense or the offender and held more weight in regard to restoring the cohesion and core values of society. So, what are the social origins of crime? As I previously stated, the fragmentation among society from the evolution to more industrial, the modern society, and the economic division of labor provide the basis of crime and deviance. Durkheim that there is no bundle of social pact or empirical pacts describing social tendencies that determine individual quality.
Report the Group 6 Theory Social Anomy. Basic concept of social anomy is an enormous gap between the desires of the individual and its real capabilities to satisfy those desires. When an individual is the one who gives or who carries out of social obligation in accordance with his social role, and the social environment does not give any feedback on his conduct, this will result in alienation of the individual. To the individual will be clear why he is doing socially useful activities when he knows he could up or another model of behavior that is apparently easier to those not require in any effort. The process of social interaction is based on reciprocity of care, attention, and trust, both sides and something in the interaction, but also received from the whole process of social interaction. Social enemy is also happen when old rule or sub-values are no longer relevant and just value roles in direct conflict with the old rules and value. Self-arguation theory. According to self-esteem model and deviance, juveniles may become involved in delinquency as a response to negative self-attitude and particular self-derogation. Theory predict the low self-esteem motivates youths to try delinquent activities that are aimed at restoring self-esteem, while the correlation between self-esteem and delinquency has been widely studied. This study examines some conditions under which engaging the delinquent behavior may boost self-esteem, applying multivariate procedures, Danny variables regression to the youth in transition data panel. The article tests estimates the combined effect of initial self-derogation and participation in delinquency on subsequent self-attitude. There are various different perspectives on what anomalies and how affect deviant behavior. On one hand, Durkheim claims that anomalies refer to the formulated goals within the culture of an industrial society, whereas Robert Merton replied, Marxist, inherent in nature, constitutional anomaly theory has some similarities. Robert Merton and Robert Agnew, wealthy and financially comfortable enough to access a formal education or paying occupation as a result or consequence of this inability or unrealistic goal of the middle and low classic classes are subject there are strain or enemy. Therefore, this sense of enemy imbalance of the and division of labor justify a modes of adoption are more often than not criminal, ultimately supporting Durkheim animist theory.